Hello everyone, welcome to another exciting episode of Dayspring Discussions. I'm your host, Sean McGahee, and this is a show we talk about movies, TV, sci-fi, fantasy, comic books. If you geek out about it, we're going to talk about it. I am joined, as always, on this beautiful Tuesday afternoon by the ever-so-beautiful Miss Lisa Locke McGahee.
Hello.
Alright guys, so if this is your first time tuning in, here's how it goes. I'm going to run down some stories in the world of geekdom, starting out with some Marvel and DC news. Then we run through a little Star Wars and Harry Potter, if there is any. And then, of course, we go through some miscellaneous stuff. Lisa and I will then discuss this and let us know what you think. Fire back on the social media groups, Facebook and Twitter, and also on our Gmail account, dayspringdiscussions@gmail.com. So, without further ado, you ready to go?
I'm ready to discuss.
Discuss. Doing the air quotes, yes. Discuss stuff. Okay. So, started off in the world of Marvel. So, just a little thing before we actually get to the stories. I just finished episode 2 of FX's Legion, and I gotta say, I'm on board with it. It was better than that first episode. I like where the story's going, and I gotta say, I think I'm gonna enjoy this series. It was very well done, and still no mention of Charles Xavier or X-Men or anything like that, but just the overall story as is pretty good. And one thing that I think you might find interesting is in this episode 2, at the end of the episode, he was saved by the group of mutants, and they've taken him in and kind of helping him to train for his powers. And at the end of this episode, his sister goes to the psych ward to see him, and then the psych ward acts like they have no idea who this person is. They never had him here, even though she's visited him there for several years now. And not to spoil the ending, guys, but then the people who are looking for David actually capture his sister, and looks like the next episode is him going to try to go rescue her. And his sister is played by Jenny from The League. Yeah, exactly.
The one who's been doing those Plum Organic baby food commercials.
Exactly, yes. Yeah. So she's on this show, so it looks like she might play even a bigger role, because in the first episode she kind of guest appeared just to meet with him a few times. Now she might actually play a bigger role, looks like, even the fact that she's going to need some rescuing. So, Interesting. I thought you might like that.
Yeah. So what you're saying about the show is you have to get through the first episode, but then it seems like it's worth it.
Yeah, I mean, of course, I'm only into episode 2,
right.
But yeah, it seems like it's worth it. I always like to give it 3 episodes, but based off episode 2, I think I'm going to be on board for the rest of the season.
Except Riverdale. You couldn't even do 3 on that one.
Riverdale, I couldn't even do 2 on that one. It was just, too horrible. All right, guys, so getting into the first official story. So there's a lot of talk about the upcoming Deadpool sequel starring Ryan Reynolds, and a lot of it revolves around the casting of the character of Cable. And the post-credit scene for Deadpool, Ryan Reynolds teased that they will have Cable in the next film, so everyone's kind of wondering who's going to get cast as this famous mutant. There was a photo that came out a couple months ago where it had Hugh Jackman, Ryan Reynolds, and Pierce Brosnan in there. And that kind of led to speculation and rumors that maybe Pierce Brosnan might be playing the time-traveling mutant known as Cable. So now, according to the hashtag show, looks like they're in the works of casting another mutant known as Domino. Now, Domino and Cable have a very long history together. She was on his X-Force strike team in the comic books and is frequently teamed up with Deadpool. So for those of you who don't know the character, she first premiered in 1992, created by Fabian Nacira, I don't know who that is, and Rob Liefeld. Sorry. She's a genetically engineered mutant that was conceived as part of a U.S. Government program aimed to create perfect human weapons. In the case of Domino, she's one of the few survivors of the project, and she can subtly alter random variables in her line of sight to create illusions of extreme luck. Using her abilities, Domino can pull off near impossible physical feats and nearly become unkillable. She can also alter the perceived luck of her foes, causing their weapons to malfunction or their shots to misfire. So, with Domino, she's a, kind of a wild card in terms of character-wise. She's also had links to Wolverine as well, that kind of bad girl mentality. Now, in the casting, they said they're looking for a female, any ethnicities, late 20s, early 30s, sexy and athletic, who has a witty personality, a no-nonsense badass, and rarely shows her feelings, highly capable, supremely confident, and well armored, as in bulletproof sarcasm. So the reason this is that now they're looking at the star of Scandals, Kerry Washington, possibly playing this role. She also starred in Django Unchained and many other films and TV programs as well. So for her in this kind of role, I can kind of see it. Kerry Washington, a very talented actress. I think I could definitely see her in this role. Given the description, I know you don't know much about the character of Domino, but given the descriptions of what you know about Domino, and then also I want you to comment on possibly Pierce Brosnan playing the tough time traveler as Cable.
So, I don't know how I feel about Pierce Brosnan as Cable. Like, I don't know a lot about Cable, but from what you've told me over the years about Cable, and from comic books that I've seen with drawings of Cable, he seems more like a super bulky,
I would
military type.
If this was early 90s and late 80s, Arnold Schwarzenegger would be cast no problem, because that's it. He's big, he's tough, he's like a Terminator style. You know, he's all about the mission. He's had a life of war. Very serious character. So like I said, this was early 90s, late 80s. It would be Stallone or Schwarzenegger or someone of that caliber.
Yeah, I just don't see Pierce Brosnan seems like I know like when I see Pierce Brosnan, I still get like kind of like that
James Bond.
Yeah, like that pretty boy,
smooth talker.
Right. Like he's. I mean, I'm not saying he's not strong, but he's not like super buff. Like he's like more like a slim, lean kind. I don't know. He just doesn't look like what I would expect Cable to look like.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he doesn't have. I mean, he's a great actor. He can do whatever, but he doesn't. It's not the look that I would expect.
Oh, yeah, I totally agree. I mean, the look, like I said, the guy who played the bad guy in Avatar. He literally looks...
that's exactly what I was thinking.
He literally looks like Cable jumped off screen, which is why... What's his name? Stephen Lang, that's his name, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking.
That's exactly... And immediately, when they said Cable, he has been in people's minds for a while now, because he's got the gray hair, the tough look, the muscles. He literally looks like Cable's jumped off, the pages.
Yeah, Pierce Brosnan's not at all what I would expect.
Exactly, but...
Is it confirmed he's going to be Cable?
No,
that's all still speculation.
This is all just speculation. I think it was like a month or so ago. They said that they still haven't cast anyone yet, but this is all coming. Like I said, the speculation of Pierce Brosnan just comes from that picture of Ryan Reynolds, Hugh Jackman, and Pierce Brosnan sitting together. I mean, they're using the Twitter sphere to get people riled up. Is really what it is. I mean, they could be working on some other film together. They could be just sitting there in 20th Century Fox's waiting room and just snapping off photos. I don't know, but. And then of course,
in terms of Kerry Washington as Domino, I don't know anything about Domino except for what you just read.
Okay,
but I think that Kerry Washington fits the description that they're looking for, and I think she's a good actress.
Badass assassin, who is a tough girl. So.
Yeah, I mean, I can totally get from her like somebody who could pull off that. You can't really see what she's feeling, like that kind of. I don't know how to describe it. Just like being able to like have look at her face and not have any idea what's going on underneath. Like I think that sounds reasonable. But what would be the relationship? How Domino and Cable do they have any kind of connection? Like is there anything?
Not like a love connection or something like that. Just like
Do they have to work together?
Yeah,
is there what's their dynamic?
She was on to say so. Cable was the leader of the X-Force team, which Deadpool and Domino were a part of for several years. Really, so he was like their leader. But the X-Force has always been the, I want to say the rejects, but the kind of the loose cannons of the X-Men universe, to where they're kind of a team full of misfits that, are really, a lot of them are really just killers, is what it is. So, to put them together, Cable's got to try to, make them efficient and also kind of rein them in a little bit when, it looks like they might go off the deep end.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, Kerry Washington, I'm on board with. Pierce Brosnan, not so much.
and with Brosnan, he has the acting chops. It's just, again, it's not what you look like. But then again, let's not forget, Wolverine is 5'3" in the comics, and Hugh Jackman is, 6'2", 6'3".
Yeah, but that's different. It's not just about their height.
But I'm just saying, okay? I mean...
Hugh Jackman is Wolverine in every other way except for that he's short.
So many people bitched about Hugh Jackman because of his height when he first came out. Just like people, and that's... people, were making fun of Heath Ledger when he was cast as a Joker, or Michael Keaton when he was cast as Batman. All these controversial castings where people are like, no, that's not what he's supposed to be like. That's wrong. And these actors proved us wrong. I think Pierce Brosnan, despite his physicality, can definitely prove us wrong if the speculation about him playing Cable is correct.
It's not just about how he looks, though. I mean, Pierce Brosnan, even like his voice.
Okay,
he's got that like, he's like he just sounds like a very proper Englishman to me. He doesn't come off to me like somebody who's going to be able to lead and rule, like not rule, but like manage a group of people like Deadpool and I mean, you know what I'm saying? Well, I just feel like it should be more like a militant. He doesn't seem to me to have that. Like his voice is so like sweet. Like I just hear him in like Mrs. Doubtfire, like
I'm curious too. Has he ever had a role where he tried to not have that English accent too?
I haven't seen
because Cable, he's the son of technically Jean Grey and Cyclops, so he shouldn't have an English accent. So can he drop that accent?
I don't know. I'm just saying there's more than just his physicality. I am not on board with him in that role for many reasons.
No.
But I am on board with the other one.
Okay, yeah, Kerry Washington, I think she's a great actress. She's done several types of roles, so I think she's very versatile. And I think, she'd definitely be fine for it if that's the route they want to go in that instance. So, all right, guys. So that's it in the world of Marvel news. Not a lot to go on there. So now we're going to step on to the old DC Cinematic Universe.
Oh, yeah.
And everyone's favorite topic, DC directors. So the Hollywood Reporter came out with a couple different stories this last week in regards to directors for upcoming DC projects. Now, the first one is in regards to the ever-going saga of the Batman movie, in which Matt Reeves was said to be in talks or final negotiations to direct the film. Now, it looks like that is no longer the case, as he is no longer attached to direct or no longer in talks to direct the film. It says, quote, that talks have broken down, but the studio's hoping that talks will resume when heads cool. This is, of course, a line of many problems for the Batman film. But for those of you who want something to get excited about, or maybe not so excited about, another famous director looks like he's in talks to direct a DC film. Mel Gibson is reportedly in talks to direct the sequel to David Ayer's Suicide Squad. So as of now, no official paper has been signed in regards to that, but it says that Gibson is, quote, familiarizing himself with the materials, though the studio is said to be pursuing other directors as well. Now, Gibson is best known for his acting roles in films like Lethal Weapon and The Patriot, but also he's very well known nowadays for directing films such as The Passion of the Christ, Braveheart, Apocalypto, and the Oscar-nominated Hacksaw Ridge. David Ayer, who directed the first Suicide Squad movie, won't be coming back for the sequel because he is set to be gearing up for a film called Gotham City Sirens, which will highlight the females in the DC universe. Margot Robbie is set to appear in that film as Harley Quinn and also set to produce the film as well. So, a couple of stories coming out of the DCU in regards to directing. Lisa, what do you think about these choices and pickups and drop-offs as far as the DC universe?
So, in terms of the Batman...
Okay, Matt Reeves dropping out, allegedly.
I mean, I don't even know, what else we can say about this.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, I mean, it's like it is, too, because we remember the Flash movie, they've gone through 3 directors now, where people are like, oh, this person signed on to direct. A few weeks later, they dropped out. And I think it has a lot to do with, the DC executives. The director comes with them with their vision. The DC directors say, the executives say, yeah, that's fine. And then they, start going along a little bit, and they're like, no, this is not what we want. We want you to do this. And the director's like, no, I don't want to do this. And that's where things start to fall apart. I feel like, what the executives want is different from what the directors want. Even David Ayer himself came out and said that he was essentially towards the end of post-production on Suicide Squad when Batman v Superman came out. And after the poor reviews of Batman v Superman, they basically hijacked the film from him, got a trailer company to come in and re-edit the film. He wasn't even allowed in the editing room, is what it was. So, again, it just has to go show that Warner Brothers is, not allowing these directors to do what they want. And that's why we're getting so many trade-offs. I mean, they're getting so frustrated, especially with Ben Affleck, where I thought, they'd let him kind of do what he wanted because of his prestige with winning Oscars and his current run as a director. But even then, it looks like Ben Affleck's getting frustrated with Warner Brothers as well and not allowing him the freedom to do what he feels is necessary for the film.
Well, I mean, and this all goes down to what we say all the time is they don't have one person with a clear idea of what is supposed to be happening in their cinematic universe. And then it's like they get an idea and they go with the director and they're like with the director, okay, yeah, it sounds good. You have a great idea. Let's go with it. But then a movie comes out, doesn't do well, and then DC is like reaction, and they start changing everything. It's like they're so, and I know this is everyone's thing, is they're so reactionary. Like they just, as soon as one little bad thing happens, or lots of big bad things, but I think that they would quit having all these bad things happen if they would just stick with their original vision. Like, maybe Suicide Squad didn't need all that shit done to it. Like, if they would have just let it be what it was, maybe it would have been better. But instead, they were like, oh no, people didn't like that movie Superman. Let's change this next one and try to make it different. When maybe that, what it was supposed to be in the first place, would have been just fine.
Yeah.
Or even just showing what they did with that movie Superman and how, with the director's cut,
Ultimate
that,
cut,
you like it so much better, and a lot of people do. Maybe they just gotta. I mean, they're not. The bottom line is they're not going to quit meddling. Apparently, the people, the executives, think they know what they're doing, even though they obviously don't, and they're going to keep getting in there. I just can't understand why there's so much trouble with them keeping a director. Like, surely they have talks before they sign these people up to do this, where they must have an idea already of what they want, what the directors are wanting. So why does it get to where, why is it even getting to the point where the people are hearing this person's signed on to be director and then have to go back and take it back? Like, just don't pick a director until you're sure. Like, good Lord.
Well, I mean, Matt Reeves wasn't signed on, but he was in talks as well. But in regards to Mel Gibson, this was an interesting one because as a director, I think Mel Gibson's great. He has still kind of got that black mark on him in Hollywood for the personal issues he had several years ago, and I think he's always going to have that. Yeah. But there's no denying that he is a great director. It's one of those things with people in the entertainment industry. You kind of sometimes have to separate their art from their personal life. I mean, you can go, I don't know, I guess Michael Jackson as an example, regardless of
how weird he was
and stuff. There's no denying he was a great artist, a great music maker. And it's kind of the same thing with Mel Gibson. Yeah, he's a little, whatever, but
controversial.
He makes good movies. He's a good director. So in regards to Suicide Squad, first off, I remember, like we said, when I told you about this, or when you heard about it, you were like, why are they making a sequel?
Yeah, that was my first thing. Why are they even doing
I didn't hate Suicide Squad, but I was telling Josh, after I saw it, I was like, I didn't hate it, but I was bored. I didn't see the need. In the film, they're taking on this supernatural force, and I'm like, why are they not calling Justice League for this? Okay, they're a bunch of criminals who just are like mercenaries. Okay, they're not supposed to take on gods.
They don't have special powers, right?
Exactly, they don't have special powers. None of them. They're all just killers and thieves and stuff like that. And I'm like, what are they doing taking on this? Okay, call in Aquaman or Flash or Batman or somebody. It's not a job for them. So, but again, in the film, I don't feel like we need one, especially since we're getting these spin-offs because they're talking about Will Smith as Deadshot being in Batman or other things. And
they're already doing the girl version of this,
they're doing
right?
Gotham City. They want to do that with David Ayer as well. I just don't see the need for Suicide Squad. But as regards to Mel Gibson directing, I'd be on board because I'm on board with Mel Gibson as a director. But that's the thing too, is they've had so many problems with the directors. And Mel Gibson is not known for one to be pushed around. So you got to think if they want him, or if he does officially sign on, he's gonna want full control. They're gonna have to give him full control, final edit on the film, and it's gonna be under contract. There's nothing Warner Brothers can do. So I don't know, given their history of directors within the last few months to a year, are they really prepared to give one of the directors that much control?
I just don't see him. This just seems right now like the trajectory he's going, like this just seems beneath him.
It kind of does, especially since he's well known for recently saying that Batman v Superman was a piece of shit.
Right. I mean, how do you go from directing Hacksaw Ridge to the Suicide Squad sequel. Like, that just seems like a major step down in terms of art. Not necessarily in terms of, this is DC, it's a big deal. I mean, being involved in any kind of comic book film these days is a huge, it's a huge deal. But I just feel like once you get to be like Mel Gibson level, like in terms of the quality and the length of time he's been involved in Hollywood and stuff, it just seems like it's like someone came to me, not that I want to preface this, I'm not trying to equate these two directors in terms of overall quality, but it would be like if someone came to me and said Scorsese was going to do the next Batman movie. I'd be like, huh?
I'd be, yes!
I know, but it would seem odd. This just seems odd to me, especially coming off of Hacksaw Ridge.
Yeah.
Like, he's finally getting a little bit of his... I think he's starting to kind of overcome that stigma a little bit.
His reputation is, improving.
And this just seems like a weird step if this is... I just don't... on top of him wanting Final Cut and all that and...
Well, I'm just speculating he would.
Well, I'm sure he would. That's what I mean. I just don't see going and directing a movie in the DC universe where there is a master plan of sorts. Possibly there should be if there's... Whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, to me, I think it's a win-win for the studio and for Mel Gibson. The studio giving Mel Gibson control of this film might change people's perception of not only what they're doing over there, but also what the film could be. And then also with Mel Gibson, doing a blockbuster film like this might help his reputation a little bit as well.
I don't think so. Not a Suicide Squad sequel. Maybe. I think if he's going to get into, comic book films, if he's going to get into comic book films, I think he'd need to do one of the standalone films, like like maybe The Batman or something like that. Yeah, that's or he'd have to do a Marvel film. I just don't see him making that step up to a Suicide Squad sequel.
Yeah, now you're making me think about what good DC property he should direct, because I don't think he should direct Suicide Squad sequel.
Not a sequel for sure.
But now you got my head turning as far as what he should direct. He could direct something. I'm gonna think about this. I'm gonna think about this and get back to you. Yeah. So, all right, guys. So that's it for DC news. Now we're gonna step on to the magical end of Star Wars. Oh, actually, before we get out DC news, I totally forgot. In regards to new television shows, I watched the 3rd episode of Powerless a couple of nights ago, and after episode 2, I was almost ready to give up on it. Episode 3 renewed my faith in it. It was a good episode. I really enjoyed it. Maybe had something to do with the fact that Alan Tudyk's character was featured heavily in the episode.
I love him.
But I enjoyed the episode, so I'm going to stay out for a little while. If you haven't checked it out, I recommend skip episode 2, go 1, then 3, and see what you think too. But I'm going to stick with it for now. So back to Star Wars and related news before we get to the actual stories. Celebration is less than 2 months away. Lisa and I are getting excited and gearing up for our first Star Wars celebration, but I'm also excited to take our daughter to this will be her first geek convention as well too, right? We never took her to a Comic-Con.
We never took her to a Comic-Con?
Because I haven't been to Comic-Con in like several years.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure. What would we have taken her to?
I don't know. I feel like we have, though.
The only geeky thing that we've really done, we went to Harry Potter World, but we left her at home, remember?
That is true. She was just a baby.
That's true. Okay, so this will be her first, convention, so to speak, as well, and our first Star Wars celebration. And also in that regards, I just submitted the podcast for hopefully a slot on the podcast stage at Celebration, where we'll be right in the middle of the action, doing our Dayspring discussions. It's a long shot. I know. I don't have high hopes for it, but I figured, what the hell?
It would still be awesome.
Exactly. It would be awesome. I submitted, 3 podcasts like they wanted and all that stuff, and we'll see how that goes. Again, I'm not expecting anything, but it would be totally awesome to do that. So, moving into the actual Star Wars news, we got a lot of book news, actually, this week. So, coming out on February 21st.
Which is today.
Is that today?
I just got it.
Oh, okay.
I actually literally just bought the article.
Okay, so coming out today is the 3rd book in Chuck Wendig's Aftermath trilogy.
Wendig, isn't it?
Wendig? Wendell?
Wendig.
Okay, I've heard it pronounced several ways.
Well,
so
there's no L in it, so...
Let's just call him Chucky. Chucky's final book, so to speak, in the Aftermath trilogy. And a couple days ago, StarWars.com released a couple of excerpts from the book. And one of them kind of described Leia and Han's relationship post Return of the Jedi, and kind of leads us to a little bit of hints as to why their relationship fell apart and where we saw them start back up again in The Force Awakens. So in the little excerpt, you see kind of Han and Leia being torn apart a little bit. Essentially, in the excerpt, you get a pregnant Leia who is confronting Han about his need to slow down and take care of her and the baby as well. Han, for that part, is kind of, a little restless in this lifestyle of peace, so to speak. Quote, "It's been hard for Han. He won't say it out loud, but she can see it in his face. Her husband needs something to do. He's bored. Chewbacca's back home looking for his family. Luke's searching the galaxy for old Jedi teachings. Han's got nothing to smuggle, nowhere to gamble, no foolish rebellion to fight for. He's like the Falcon, retired to a hangar somewhere waiting for something, anything to happen. So he buys fruit, lots and lots of fruit." Now, also, a couple days before that, we got a little bit of an inclination as to the fate of a very famous Star Wars character, Mr. Jar Jar Binks. So, in this book as well, we're going to see kind of where Jar Jar is in the Star Wars universe. The last time we saw him was at Padme's funeral at the end of Revenge of the Sith. So, according to Mashable, we see a Jar Jar back on Naboo, where he is kind of haunted by his sins of the past in regards to his helping form the clone empire, clone army, which eventually turned into the Empire. He kind of forced back into exile on Naboo, where he became a street performer as a clown for entertaining kids. Now in the book it says a kid named Mappo comes up to him, and he introduces himself as Misa Jar Jar. Then he entertains the kid by doing something very gungery, like bulging out his cheeks and popping his eyes. However, he makes it clear in the book that he is also very sad, saying, quote, "Jar Jar making some mistakes. I'm trying to do this good, hold on. This is the Naboo thinks I helped the Empire." That was horrible, I know. Anyway, but yeah, there's a couple things we can expect from Star Wars Aftermath, Empire's End, which comes out today. I have not read the first two books, just because I heard bad things about the first one, so I didn't pick it up. But Lisa, you have listened to the other two on Audible. Mm-hmm. You just picked up the other one. Are you excited for this book?
Well, I don't know that I'm excited for it. I was not a huge fan of either of the first two Aftermath stories. I liked the second one better than the first, but I didn't love either of them. They certainly are on the lower end of how I've liked the Star Wars novels thus far. So
what kind of my problem is why I'm very hesitant to read the books too. Of course, the first one was, not pearls of sheep, but I also heard that it doesn't really have, like, the first one, like Luke, Han, and Leia, they're not like main characters in the book, right?
Well, no, they're not necessarily the main characters. No.
Yeah, and I want to see, like I said, post Jedi. I want to see them. I want to see what's happening with them.
I mean, they're in it though. You see what's happening.
But
I
want to see more what's going on.
You don't have any idea. You didn't read them, so you don't know.
I'm just saying. What I heard.
There is a lot of them in them. They're just not the main characters. But it certainly revolves around what's going on with them. Okay, so
in regards to, let's talk about first Han and Leia. I guess, based on what you've read so far and this, see, I always thought that their breaking down of their relationship, from what I got from just The Force Awakens, had a lot to do with their son Ben turning to the dark side. But it looks like from that it might have actually broken down before then, actually.
Well, I think it was obvious that their relationship was not exactly one that was meant to be a real strong marriage. Yeah. They both had very different
lifestyles.
They had very different pasts. They were raised in different ways. Leia had a very strong sense of responsibility, and she kind of felt like, I mean, in terms of Leia, the rebellion, the government, the whole universe was kind of, she felt like she had a personal responsibility to make things right. And Han didn't have any sense of that. I mean, he was a smuggler.
He was always out for himself.
Yeah, he only cared about himself. And, I mean, sure, I don't have any doubt that they love each other and that they, would have really liked to have made things work, but I just don't think that their lifestyles were compatible. So I'm not surprised at all that their marriage broke down prior to the. I don't think it was Ben.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think there were definitely seeds of that being shown in the first 2 Aftermath books, because you're seeing, they both get caught up, and when something needs to be done, neither one delegates very well. Neither one minded putting themselves in danger to take care of something they felt needed to be taken care of. They both also had a very strong sense of loyalty to their friends, and so neither one, wanted to see their friends or, anyone struggling. So if anyone needed help, they both would immediately go, but they didn't necessarily take time to consult each other. Mm-hmm. There wasn't necessarily a communication between them about what should be done. So, I mean, I think you don't need the books to know that their marriage was not necessarily one that was going to be like, I'm going to be Suzuki Homemaker now, and you're going to work this stupid dead-end job and then come home and provide for our family and take care of the kid. Like, it just isn't, that's not the kind of life that they were going to have.
No.
It's not surprising that they spent large periods of time apart and that Han was bored. Like, duh, of course he's
if you look in the
bored.
book Bloodlines, too, I mean, he's off doing, spice runs or whatever he's doing in Bloodline as well. Yeah. He didn't want to settle down, so he's off, going again, to quote Force Awakens, to go back to what they both did best.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not surprised. Well, I mean, I'm kind of, the one thing that kind of makes me not sure how I'm going to feel about this book is this whole bit about Jar Jar. Like, nobody freaking cares what happened to Jar Jar.
Well, people are hoping he's, dead and, somewhere.
Right, but, let's just hope that quietly. We don't need to be confirmed that he's living on Naboo acting like a clown. Yeah. Like, everyone knows what he did. We all saw it in the films. Like, sure, Jar Jar was a pawn. He was stupid. He was a pawn. They used him. Duh. Like, there was him re-entering these stories in any way is completely not necessary.
I mean, I would imagine, without this, I would imagine, he would live out his days on Naboo in like solitude or something like that, just overwhelmed by the grief of his part in the formation of the Empire in that regards. But I don't think it's got a big part. I think it's just something really briefly. We're gonna see the character just to give, because there are Jar Jar fans out there. There are prequel fans out there. I mean, there are kids you grew up on the prequels.
Well, yeah, but and
they like Jar Jar. I mean, I know it's not the best, but that's what they grew up on. They have pleasant memories of him. So to give them a little bit of closure would be fine, I think, in any regards.
I guess.
Anyway, the book comes out today, guys, so you can go pick it up or do as Lisa does and just get the Audible and listen to it on the car ride. So
that's the best way to do it.
All right, so some other Star Wars book news that came out, which I'm kind of surprised, since how we're getting so close to Celebration. I figured they save some of this stuff for Celebration. But a new novel that serves as a sequel for Rogue One is going to be coming out on July 25th. And this one's going to be called Inferno Squad. It's going to be written by Christy Golden, who was the author who wrote Star Wars Dark Disciple, one of my favorite new canon books. She's also written books about other Star Wars books and Star Trek and Worlds of Warcraft books as well. So the premise of this is after the humiliating theft of the after the humiliating theft of the Death Star plans and the resulting destruction of the battle station, the Empire is on the defense. In response to this stunning defeat, the Imperial Navy has authorized the formation of an elite team of soldiers known as Inferno Squad. Their mission, infiltrate and eliminate the remnants of Saw Gerrera's partisans. Following the death of their leader, the partisans have carried on his extremist legacy, determined to thwart the Empire no matter what the cost. Now Inferno Squad must prove their status as the best of the best and take down the partisans from within. But as the danger intensifies and the threat of discovery grows, how far will Inferno Squad go to ensure the safety of the Empire? Book comes out July 25th. Now, I thought it kind of weird that they said it was a sequel to Rogue One, because really the sequel to Rogue One is A New Hope. And this, from what this says, is after the destruction of the battle station. So really this is after A New Hope as well. So really it's another sequel to A New Hope. It said Death Star plans and the resulting destruction of the battle station.
Oh, so this is really a sequel to Star Wars.
Yeah, it's really just a sequel to A New Hope. Another post A New Hope storyline is what we're getting. I don't know. So I don't know how the tie-in to Rogue One. I mean, since they're calling it a Rogue One sequel, which was really A New Hope, but in any event, you get another perspective from the Empire's point of view. I'm not really keen on stories like that. Maybe just because the Empire's bad and I'm like whatever. But
I like it though. That was one thing.
I know you like Lost Stars.
I know that was one thing I liked about Lost Stars was just how you really got a sense of, all those people, just because they were part of the Imperial Navy or whatever, they didn't necessarily know what was going on. They're not all bad people. They're sometimes just fighting for what they think. All they know, they don't know all the bad things that the Emperor is doing or that Darth Vader or whatever. Like, they just think this is my duty, this is my country or whatever, my government, my whatever. I am fighting for what's right. Or I just want a job and I really want to fly planes or I really want to do this.
See the galaxy.
Right, a lot of people join the military. They don't necessarily have a super duper sense of whatever. They
patriotism.
Right, they maybe just want to fly and that's the best place I think they're going to be able to do it. Or they have a strong sense of whatever. I don't know. I'm just saying, I think that's one thing I really liked about Lost Stars was just how you kind of got the Empire versus Rebel point of view for the same situation and how you saw from the Empire side what the destruction of the Death Star really meant to regular people who weren't part of the rebellion. And so I think it's interesting, again, from this, if you're looking again right after the Death Star, this is going to be the same time period, really, seeing this squad of Inferno Squad, these Imperial whatevers. I don't know exactly what they're going to be doing, but, they're going to have a very different perception of what just happened.
It says they're going to be hunting down Saw Gerrera's people, which, could be... I get that point because they're going to be following, Saw's path, so you're gonna run into people observed from Rogue One, and, they might end up on Jeddah or something like that. Just, again, hunting down the last remnants of Saw's followers.
Yeah, so. I mean, I think it sounds interesting. I'm curious to see.
I think I'm more likely to read this than I am Empire's End, but we'll wait and see. But
you shouldn't read Empire's End until you read the first two anyway.
Well, I might just skim the plot points of each book and call it that.
They weren't horrible. They weren't my favorite.
I got you.
But I have a different. I mean, those like every time when we've listened to, like from the Collider guys, like what when they try to tell you these are the books, their favorites are not my favorites.
Yeah.
I think we all agree on Lost Stars and Bloodline. She's just dreaming. The dog is dreaming.
The dog is dreaming below us and she's making noise. So.
But anyway, aside from Lost Stars and Bloodline, their favorites are not my favorites. Like, I have a different...
Yeah, I mean, mine are more their favorites, too.
Right, and so maybe it's just from a girl point of view coming at these stories. I don't know. But I think you should definitely read the first two if you're going to read. Just let her dream. She's not... Is she bothering anybody? If her little sleepy barks are bothering anybody, then
let us know. So we'll kick her out to the future ones.
Anyway, I definitely think if you're going to read Empire, then you should read the first two. They're not horrible. Fair enough. Again, I think one thing, and I don't know if this is, but the main character is a woman.
Yeah.
I mean, the stories are basically following Nora Wexley, and I think maybe that's another reason why I like it. Could be. But then again, my other favorite one up to this was Tarkin. Yeah. I really liked Tarkin. That was a good book.
Okay. So speaking from, of course, the book point of view as well. So now you just finally finished Clone Wars Season 6. You're done with it now. And I recommended after you finish Clone Wars to pick up Dark Disciples. So are you going to listen to that one?
Yeah, I will. But first I need to finish reading... Well, I just recently restarted the Harry Potters, so...
Oh, come on. You have listened to those how many times now?
Yeah, but I like to do it once a year. So then I have to do Empire's End, and then I can do Dark Disciple.
You can't take a break from Harry Potter for something new.
No.
Okay.
They're my favorite.
Whatever. Anyway, so keep it on Star Wars before we switch to miscellaneous. You finished Clone Wars. After that, now give me a complete retrospective of the series, maybe some episodes that stand out, or, just maybe even Season 6 since you recently watched that too.
Overall, I think that Clone Wars is certainly worth a watch for people who didn't particularly love the prequels, because I really think it helped it definitely made me like Anakin more, like understand him more. I mean, Anakin in the prequels, you know, we've also said this before, he's just like kind of like a whiny baby.
Yeah.
Like, in his turn to the dark side, in the movies, just seemed very sudden. It almost seemed, not to come out of nowhere per se, but it was very dramatic. Where, like, I think if you watch the Clone Wars, you see his darkness coming out more and more.
The dark seeds in there.
Right, and then also, I love the way that they do Padme in the Clone Wars, because, you know, again, I know I've said this a million times, but the way that they did Padme in the movies was so a disaster. And it still makes me super angry the way that she went out in the movies.
Okay, let's not get into that.
I know, I'm not going to get into it. But I think that the way that the Clone Wars portrayed her, you know, she was such a strong personality. You know, she was such a strong force. She was such a good person. And I think they really did a great job in showing just how independent she was, just how strong she was, just how much she really cared about the people. And that even at the end when she was kind of realizing that maybe the Emperor and what the Republic was doing wasn't necessarily the right thing, but she still wasn't quite sure if the Separatists were the right way to go. You know, they really showed that turmoil. And I like that. I love how they did that.
So, did you like? So, I forgot to ask you about the season 6 storyline with Clovis, and I love there's that scene where Anakin, you know, basically beats the crap out of Clovis, you know, because he's jealous of him, spending time with Padme and all that, and then they have that conversation, him and Padme, just about their marriage, which I don't think we've ever really seen that conversation in the Clone Wars.
Right.
So I found that very interesting as well, where she's like maybe even having doubts about, you know, the effects their marriage is.
Yeah. Well, because, you know, just realizing that having to be so secretive isn't what she wanted. It isn't what the kind of life that she thought that they were going to have. And even though she knew that going into it, it started, I think the realization was starting to impact her. And, but yeah, I mean, I thought the Clone Wars I really liked it in the end. I mean, of course, my favorite thing was Ahsoka coming out of it.
Yeah, of course.
Love Ahsoka. So I think that having that show her journey, and then later, you know, adding her into Rebels and the Ahsoka novel, and like I love the more that you learn about Ahsoka, because I really think that her character is so interesting. But I did think that in that last bit, that the storyline with the chip,
the soldiers,
the clones, I thought that was really interesting. It's like how close that they came to discovering that, and you know what that really was for, like that really what was coming, but still they were so far away.
Yeah, how'd you feel about that last Yoda storyline?
I mean, I thought it was interesting. The only thing
it wasn't my favorite.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I get that they were trying to set up how Yoda became like a Force ghost or whatever, but what didn't make sense to me is when did Qui-Gon learn it? Yeah. Like I mean,
I don't know.
He would have had to have gone through those trials also while he was living to have. That was my first thought, was and then to have the Qui-Gon Force person continue Yoda's training to become, like, I don't understand why Qui-Gon would have, I mean, I'm not saying anything against Qui-Gon, but I just felt like Qui-Gon was more of like you know, he wasn't even on the council.
No, well, that's because he defied the council so much.
Right, but it just, his character, from what I knew about his character, and there's not a lot out there about his character.
Which is wrong. They need to put more out there.
Aside from Qui-Gon in Episode 1, there's really no...
Yeah, they've had a couple of books and a couple of comics, but that was all, you know, expanded or legend stuff now. Right. There's no new canon stuff about it, which so I hope they fix.
That was the only thing that I didn't really like so much about that storyline at the end with Yoda, you know, is... when did Qui-Gon do all this? Yeah. It didn't really, I mean, he had Padawans. Like, it didn't really make any sense to me. Did he take Obi-Wan with him? Did he send Obi-Wan on another mission on his own? Was it before Obi-Wan? I mean, I don't, you know, it just isn't, that's the only thing I couldn't quite get was when did Qui-Gon do all this? But,
yeah, so in season 6, my favorite episode was that one I came home last night and you were watching, where they were investigating Cypher Diaz. Because that's one thing I loved about Clone Wars 2 was the adventures of Obi-Wan and Anakin. You really saw their friendship. You got to see why Obi-Wan cared so much for Anakin, and how heartbroken he was at the end of Episode 3 as far as what happened to him, too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, I really like it. You could definitely see, and since I watched the whole thing kind of in a, you know, over the last couple of months, I think you can really see how the show progressed. Like how kind of kiddie it was at the beginning.
Yep.
And then how kind of adult it became at the end. Like I can see how this led into Rebels. Like why they went this direction. Another thing I liked about Clone Wars too was how you got to know so many of the clones.
Yeah.
I like a lot of the storylines that
their own
they
personalities.
did. They did a lot of little storylines with the clones. Like ones that had like, there's a few kind of hit or miss episodes where they found like a random clone out who didn't even know he was a clone, or they found a clone who had kind of, the one who just kind of like left it and got married and started having kids. And, like I thought that those little side stories with the clones were really interesting. And just a lot to showing you, cloning, like just how the clones worked and what they, and how close they were to the Jedi, which was why the
betrayal.
It was such a
I loved it too. I mean, that's another thing too, is watching Clone Wars now, and that's what, and coming up with Rebels. I love how, again, starting with Ahsoka, they're bringing those characters back, such as Ahsoka, Rex, Hondo, characters you saw in Clone Wars that you liked, that they created for that show, and now you're seeing them continue over, wondering what happened to them. It said that Katie Sackhoff, she was supposed to be reprising her voice as Satine's sister in Rebels. I haven't seen that yet. I don't know if they're still going to do it or not, but I was looking forward to seeing her character as well. So,
well, we haven't seen it yet, but maybe we will now that Sabine is going back to try to be doing something for her people.
Yeah, exactly.
It seems like if they're going to be bringing in Satine's sister, now is when it's coming.
Exactly. So, all right, guys. So that's going to be it as far as Star Wars news. We're going to step into a couple of miscellaneous items. There, I said that correctly. All right, guys. So first on the agenda, Lourdes is not here, but I figured we talked a little Doctor Who without her. I, of course, am in no way an expert or even close to being anything but close to knowledgeable on the subject matter, but I figured Lisa will do good enough.
I don't have a whole lot to say about Capaldi, though. I actually haven't watched any of the Capaldi
Okay, well,
Doctor
this
Who
technically
episodes.
has nothing to do with Capaldi, actually.
Okay.
Because they're talking about who's going to replace Capaldi now, since the announcement has come that this will be his last season, coming out, season 10, as the Doctor, as well as the showrunner Stephen Moffat will not be on it as well. Chris Chibnall, who was the showrunner for Broadchurch and who has been with Doctor Who for a little while as well, is going to be taking over as showrunner. So now people are speculating about who's going to be the next Doctor Who. And it looks like, according to Laz Brooks, that the number one contender is actress Tilda Swinton, a female Doctor. Now, it was a little while ago, last I knew, the James Bond star Ben Whishaw, who played Q in the latest James Bond films, was number one, but it looks like Tilda Swinton kind of moved up there as well. She's going 7-2 odds against Wishaw's.
Who are these odds coming from?
The Ladbrokes site. Okay. I don't know. I've never heard of the site before. But anyway, he's got 10-1 odds. Other people that are kind of in it is going to be Idris Elba. He's got 20-1 odds, and Gwendolyn Christie actually from Game of Thrones and Star Wars: The Force Awakens going for 21 odds as well. So, it's pretty much, I don't know if there's I bet in England there's official betting going on as far as who's going to be Doctor Who. That's where all these odds are popping up and stuff like that. And I guess it goes into the question of, with Capaldi leaving, people are wanting something different, not just another white male. They're thinking either female, they're thinking African American, they're thinking something different.
Well, probably not African American if they're in England.
Idris Elba.
He's not African American, he's black.
Huh?
He's not American.
Huh?
I'm saying the term African American doesn't work when they're not American. They're black.
Okay, fair enough.
That's what I'm saying.
Fair enough. Okay, I
and
got
not all blacks in the U.S. are from Africa.
Okay, fair enough.
The correct term these days is black.
Okay, well, we're not PC on this show, so I will give you that. Okay, my mistake. Anyway, back to the hand. Do you think we're ready for something different with the Doctor?
Sure. I think it'll be fine. I'm totally on board with having somebody black or a lady. I would personally, I think a lady Doctor would be awesome.
Tilda Swinton?
I don't know about Tilda Swinton, though.
I don't know.
I think that she, no offense to Doctor Who, I love Doctor Who, but I just feel like Tilda Swinton is a little bit above that. She's not the kind of person that just takes any role that comes in front of her. She doesn't do 12 movies a year. She kind of is a little bit picky about what she does.
Yeah.
She's not in a lot of stuff, and I think she likes to be in things that kind of let her be weird.
Yeah.
You know, she very rarely is in something just being herself.
Yeah.
Like dressing like her or looking like her. She likes to be unusual. And I mean, I guess Doctor Who could give her that chance because, I mean, Doctor Who does get into a lot of weird scenarios. Like, it may give her... I don't know. I mean, has she ever even done television? I feel like she... Yeah, she's done television.
Maybe she do.
Hasn't she? Maybe not.
I'm sure she's done something.
I don't know. I think that Gwendolyn Christie, I would rather... I think she kind of fits a little bit better. She's... than Tilda Swinton, maybe.
I think yes, but at the same time, I think she's pretty busy with... Between Star Wars and Game of Thrones, I think she's pretty busy. Idris Elba, I think, as well. I don't see
he's
him
got
doing,
too much going on.
Yeah, he's got too much going on as well. Of course, people want him to be James Bond as well too. But I think the other guy, Ben Whishaw, he fits kind of the mold of what I feel like would be a fine, kind of in the same line. Like he looks like he's the next one. If you get like. Who was before Capaldi? You had Matt Smith, and you had what's his name, the guy before Smith. Guy your mom loves.
I'm having a total.
Dang it! What is his name? David Tennant.
David Tennant.
And it looks like David Whishaw is kind of in that group there. So I feel like he'd be the next one. The next logical choice as well. But it is a chance for them to do something new, whether it be female or black. Or even, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I think that all the people that they named would be great. I feel like a lot of the people that they're naming are doing a lot of movies right now.
Yeah.
And I think that most of the doctors in the past, not that they don't do movies, but most of them had more of a TV kind of background.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I know Doctor Who is famous and it's a big deal, but I feel like for some of these British actors that have a lot of success in, like, outside of England, like, in the worldwide movie scene, Doctor Who might be a little bit of a step
Yeah, because I mean, all the other actors who played Doctor Who, they weren't famous before until they played Doctor Who, right? Like I didn't know Capaldi before Doctor Who.
Well, he wasn't necessarily. I mean, I think he was well known in England.
Okay.
I mean, I think all of these guys were well known in England before they did it. They weren't necessarily well known to us. Where I feel like these people are well known even to us.
Yeah, exactly.
That's kind of what I feel like. The next Doctor, if they're gonna pick a woman or somebody who's black or somebody who's Indian or whatever, like, I think that they are... I don't think it's going to be somebody plucked from mainstream movies. Yeah. I think it's going to be somebody who maybe has some success on British TV.
Yeah.
Or maybe in, like, British theater, or someone who's well-known in England, but maybe not well-known all over the world. I mean, I don't know. I guess we'll see, but I think it'd be great to have a woman, especially because then I want to see who's the companion going to be. Is
they were talking about if they're going to keep the same companion or not. They're not quite sure.
Because I think it'd be kind of cool if had a lady doctor and a lady companion. That they could get into some real trouble.
Thelma and Louise or what?
Yeah, I don't know, but I think it'd be cool.
Okay, all right, fair enough. All right, guys. So stepping up, got a couple more stories. A couple trailers dropped recently that we just want to talk about real quickly. Yesterday, the newest trailer for Guy Ritchie's King Arthur film, King Arthur: Legend of the Sword, debuted a new trailer. The film stars Charlie Hunnam and Jude Law, where Charlie Hunnam plays King Arthur, and kind of a little bit of infusion with the Arthurian legend and Guy Ritchie's unique style, I guess you could say. Ritchie's take on Camelot and Excalibur traces the journey of Arthur from a child whose father is murdered and birthright is stolen by his uncle Vortigern, who's played by Jude Law, and his rise to the throne of Britain. It's opening on May 12th, stars Eric Bana as Arthur's father, King Uther, Aidan Gillen, and that guy whose name I can never pronounce, so I'll just say the guy from Amistad and Gladiator.
What is it? Let me see it.
It's
Jimon Hansu?
Exactly, I can never pronounce
the
his
D
name.
is silent. I think it's Jimon Hansu.
Could be, yeah. He was also in Guardians of the Galaxy, too. He was, before he was in Guardians of the Galaxy, he was my number one pick for Black Panther, actually. But then he was in Guardians...
Oh, I like the Black Panther guy, though.
Well, Chadwick Boseman is fine, but yeah. Anyway, so, I will go out and say this is probably the first trailer for this film that I've actually liked. I love Guy Ritchie's last movie, Man from U.N.C.L.E. I know it wasn't really well received. Not a lot of people saw it, but I really like that. I like the Sherlock Holmes films. The first one was better than the second one. And then, of course, he's got his cult following with Snatch and Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. I thought Guy Ritchie was a very weird choice for this medieval-style film. And I'm still not 100% on board with it. I am a fan of the Arthurian legend, though. As far as like old folk tales or old ones that are done a lot, I'm a fan of the Peter Pan myth, and I'm a fan of the King Arthur myth. So when it's done wrongly, I don't really like it very well. But again, taking a different slant on it, giving it a different style, maybe it's kind of what it needs to revitalize it a little bit. Exactly. But yeah, this trailer, I liked it, but then again, I had a criticism of it because as soon as the music started, I'm like, oh my god, they're doing the Logan thing. Another trailer is doing the Logan thing where they're taking that old, kind of slow song or whatever, and they're, adding the clips with it, and I'm just like, is every movie going to do this now? They
all do that. It's like as soon as Transformers started doing that thing in the trailers where it was like, boom, the big like noise, now they all do that. It's like they get one good thing in a trailer and all the trailers copy
everybody tries to copy what, works, so I guess in that instance. But with this film, I am looking forward to it just because it is the King Arthur myth, so I'm a fan of that. I do like Guy Ritchie. I don't know. I'm not have high hopes for this film. But, it could surprise me. Like I said, I didn't expect much from Man from U.N.C.L.E., and that was one of the best experiences I had in theater back in 2015. So, what did you think?
It's not really my style.
I know, of course.
I mean, I've never been a big fan of the, King Arthur type stuff.
You don't like medieval stuff?
No, I'm not a big fan of that time period in films. I don't hate any of the... I've seen a lot of the different Arthur-esque movies, and I don't hate any of them. I just don't love them. But I think in this one... This trailer, it definitely didn't make me want to see it. I totally could see the Guy Ritchie bit of this. Like, you could just see some of the way that the action was played out. Like, it totally... He's certainly making it his own.
Yeah.
I think that the movie looked... I think if you like this type of movie, this movie probably looks interesting. I definitely don't think it's going to be a big moneymaker at the box office. I don't think a lot of people are going to go out and see this. I don't think people are out there right now being like, man, we really need another King Arthur movie.
We need a good one, is what we need.
Right, I don't think any people are even out there looking for a good one in general. Yeah. I just don't see this being the kind of movie that people who are just going to randomly be like, what should we go see this weekend? Oh, that King Arthur movie. That looks great. Like, I don't know. I think it might be okay. I just don't see it making a lot of money.
I can't remember what's around it. I think Guardians of the Galaxy comes out like the week before that. So... I don't know. I don't think anything else comes out that same week, but I think Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is probably going to swallow up, the couple weeks around it. So we'll see how this film does. I mean, maybe it's something people want to go see something different after they've seen Guardians. Maybe they'll want to go see this, or maybe they don't want to go see Guardians. They want to see this. I don't know.
I think the cast looks good. Yeah. I love Jude Law. He's so cute.
Okay, fair enough. So we'll just have to wait and see. I'm definitely going to go see it just to check it out. Again, fingers crossed. I like the trailer, but I'm not holding my breath. So final story for today, guys, is a new trailer by Voltage Pictures for the film Colossal. The film stars Anne Hathaway as a 20-something living in New York City, going through a bit of a rough patch. Bad goes the worst when this massive kaiju monster materializes in the world and starts wreaking havoc in Korea. The character soon realizes that she can control the monster down to its dance moves. The film was written by and directed by Nacho Vigalondo. It also stars Dan Stevens, who is the star of Legion. Also, Jason Sudeikis is in it, as well as Simon Pegg is said to make a cameo. The film was set to come out on April 7th. However, it premiered this last September at the Toronto Film Festival as well. You seem to really like this trailer.
I thought it was really cute.
It looks very interesting, very different. So Perry Nemiroff of Collider went and saw this film when it was at the Toronto Film Festival, and when she saw this new trailer, she kind of commented how she liked the film. She definitely recommended, but how the trailer gives you enough of the premise, but doesn't give away any spoilers as well. So
I definitely think that you can tell that from the trailer. I don't think the trailer it didn't look like it gave away anything.
Yeah, I think there's going to be some kind of twist coming in here as well. But,
because the story isn't about that she can control the monsters. That's just like the surface. I think if that was the whole premise of the movie, then whatever. There's obviously more to it. But I think it looks really interesting. Just number one, I love Anne Hathaway.
Yeah. Love Anne Hathaway. She gets a lot of criticism. I don't know.
She's so good.
I don't know. I don't know why though. I think it was after the Oscars with Les Miserables. She got a lot of pushback. Kind of like how what is it? La La Land's getting a huge amount of pushback right now just because it's the favorite in the Oscars.
Yeah, well, I love Anne Hathaway. I think that this trailer makes the movie look really cute. I mean, it looks like it has some heart, though. I mean, you're seeing that her life is basically falling apart. And then, I mean, I can't even imagine if you discovered that you were controlling this crazy kaiju that was, like, going through killing people. Like, I just think it looks really cute. I want to see it.
Yeah, I'm on board. April, I don't think, if I remember correctly, I don't think there's much coming out in April on that month that really to go see. So we might have checked this one out in theaters and see how it goes. So
it just depends on how long it's in theaters because that's the day before we leave for.
That is true. That is true. Yes. So
the day before we go to the celebration.
That's the day before, really.
Yeah, we're leaving on the 8th.
Okay. Cool. All right. Well, we might have to not see it. I don't know. We'll see. Definitely looking forward to it, though. So that's going to be it for us today.
No offense, Colossal, but Star Wars Celebration is
Yes, takes a little more precedence. So that's going to be it for us, guys. Time for you guys to fire back. Let us know, did you like the Colossal or King Arthur trailer? Let us know who you think the new Doctor Who should be. Are you looking forward to the Star Wars books? Let us know. Are you reading any of the Star Wars books? Are you excited for this final Aftermath book or the Inferno Squad? And of course, now that I'm really thinking about it, I want to know what you think Mel Gibson should direct in the DC Cinematic Universe. Because I think we're all in agreement. Suicide Squad sequel,
no,
not the best idea. But now I'm thinking, what should Mel Gibson direct in the DC universe? I think it'd be very interesting. And I want you guys to give me your thoughts as well. DayspringDiscussions@gmail.com. Hit us up on the Facebook group or on Twitter. And that's going to be it. Anything else before we go?
No.
You never have anything else to say.
I never have anything else, no.
All right, fair enough, guys.
Occasionally I do.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll always maybe think of something for next week, okay? All right, guys. So until next time, may the Force be with us all.